Disclaimer before the video starts. There will be no story spoilers in this video. All gameplay is from just after the credits, but I've made sure there are no story spoilers. But there are some background spoilers in some of the side missions when I'm swinging around. I have made sure that the missions I do are in the Craven missions, and all the suits and powers are from the first half of the game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hello and welcome to another Mimir Gaming Discusses, and this episode is based on the brand spanking new Spider-Man 2. In this video I will be talking about the game as I have just finished it, not 100%ed it yet, but I will be getting onto that. So this is my initial reaction to the game, since it's literally only came out a couple of days ago, and I've just finished the credits and dumped some of the side quests. So what are my thoughts on this game? I really enjoyed it. I'm a massive fan of Spider-Man. I love the movies, I love the series, and I do really enjoyed the past two games, Miles Morales and PS4. And if you enjoy those games, you're going to enjoy this. This is a definite go out and buy this game if you've played those two. It's continuing the story, and tiny little spoiler, I know I said I wouldn't do one, but it is setting up for another game. So this is the midpoint in hopefully a really good series. And we will be also getting the Wolverine game. And if this is what Insomniac can produce with Spider-Man, I cannot wait for Wolverine to come out, and I hope they're connected. If you are a fan of this character, this is another purchase that you'll probably end up getting. So let's first talk about the bad side of this game at the moment, because through my gameplay, I came up with a lot of glitchy problems. This game had a lot of glitches to me. It crashed on me about 3 times, as well as my inputs not being taken, especially in some of the crawling sequences. Like when you're trying to crawl through a vent, it would just suddenly stop, and you sort of had to jiggle around. I don't know if collision's a problem or there's a problem with controller input. It's not my controller because I've used a different controller and I sometimes get the same problem. I did have this problem back on the PS4 version, so I'm wondering if it is just an engine problem, but hopefully they can rectify it in some updates in the future, and also add New Game Plus because it's not been added yet, which is, we'll get on to that later. But the combat, let's talk about the story first. Okay, the story, I'm not going to talk about what happens in it, but if you're a fan of Prototype, it's just Prototype. Generally, the story is very similar to Prototype, but the main story is actually split into sort of 2 sections. You've got the Craven side and the Venom side. And yeah, that's not really a spoiler because everyone knows Venom's in the game, and if you didn't know, he's in the game, but he's on all of the promotional stuff as well as the suit, and you do get that suit partway through the game, and it is very fun and very awesome to whip around people and splurge like a alien. They have changed the sort of origin of the suit, kind of. They did definitely change his weakness, okay? Because if you didn't know, in the comics he was weak to sound and fire. In this one, he isn't weak to fire, which there's a reason for it in the story, and it kind of makes sense, but I kind of miss that little thing. But I think it's to make him more dangerous, because Jesus, this was a hard battle for the Spider-Men. Yes, because Miles Morales is in the game, and we'll talk to him about him in a minute. But the main story was really fun. It's about 20 to 25 hours long, give or take, and it was quite challenging. I died quite a few times through the game. I really did lose quite a lot, but I loved the challenge. I did put the difficulty down because I was on, I think, amazing difficulty, and I did have to put it down to finish the game, because I just couldn't get past the part. I think it was also because I didn't go for any of the side quests. I just ran through the same story quest. So if you're going to pick this game up and you are going to play it, maybe focus on some of the side activities, which some of the side activities are really fun. The Craven stuff is really interesting, going from base to base and hunting down. It's nothing you've not seen before. This is something that I want to point out, that it is very similar to the past 2 games, but I don't think that's a bad thing. It's comfort food. It's like McDonald's. You know you're going to enjoy it in the end of the day, but somebody who wanted a little bit more, you might be disappointed with what is on show, especially with the activities you get, because they are kind of repeating a lot of them. A lot of them are, this is a base full of bad guys, you jump in, you can either stealth or beat the crap out of everybody. And there's also like a flying mini game where you have to sort of dodge and weave and try and get to this bird. And some of the side quests as well have been fun. I'm not going to ruin one of them, but all I'm going to say is collect the spider bots if you're a fan. I'm not even going to say if you're a fan of what, but collect the spider bots. They're really cute, and also they're quite an interesting ending, I will say the least. I had a big grin on my face, as well as the fire one. Definitely do that one, because I think that's setting up for a DLC or the sequel. I hope there's DLC for this game. I hope we get the free story quests for this game. I will definitely be picking those up if they do come out. So let's move on to Miles. Miles' story, because it's technically like 2 stories going simultaneously and then they converge, but Peter's story is basically him wanting to retire and trying to move on from that, and also having his old friend Harry, and trying to sort of split his time between Miles and Harry, and it all culminating in this whole symbiote process. Not going to say anything else more, but it gets quite interesting, and there's some really nice moments between Harry and Peter that I really enjoyed the story, and also playing not the superhero sides. With Miles, it was him accepting and moving on from his father's death. If you didn't know from Miles Morales and the first game, Miles' dad, I think his name was like Jefferson, died in those games, and it was his catalyst to becoming the Spider-Man this Spider-Man, or Kid Arachnid, or whatever the comic version of him is called, and it's him accepting that he has to move on, especially because Martin Lee escapes at the beginning of the game. Thank you, Craven. Take a quick drink there. And there are some really quite hard-hitting scenes with Miles. I really got invested with Miles' story, especially him trying to divide his life between being a school kid and trying to follow that stuff, and him being a superhero. And I'm really excited to see where they go with this character, especially that end credit sequence where they introduce somebody, and I'm like, oh my god, we're going to get this character who is one of my favorite characters out of the Spider people. If they go that way, I really hope they do. I really do hope. But it would make sense if we do get a third one. Anyway, less about the. Don't talk about the spoilers. Don't talk about the spoilers. Okay. Let's move on to the combat. The combat in this game is some of the funnest I've ever had. It's like a mid between Arkham and Spider-Man PS4, where you do have a parry system, but you're not reliant on it. And yes, you have the spider sense where you're jumping all around and stuff. It's very affluent combat. You're very constantly moving. You're very rarely ever standing in one place. You're always jumping from side to side. You're always sliding under somebody. You're always throwing equipment out, throwing webs, doing powers. It's very flashy and awesome. And talking about the combat, the boss fights are massively improved from the last game, because a lot of the time the last combat was you'd swing around, do a thing, beat, and then jump in, do a punches, then jump away. They didn't really have health bars. In this one they do have health bars, and multiple health bars at that. And these boss fights get challenging, especially the final boss. I was so impressed with the final boss fight, and these are really spectacular fights. I don't think any boss fight was bad. Maybe the first one was Sandman, but it was still impressive to watch. It was one of the more impressive spectacles, and especially the aftermath of that boss fight, where the whole city is covered in sand. A really cool sequence. Oh, talking about the city, through the story, the city will get changed and destroyed, and certain landmarks will be changed in some way. They stay like that through the whole game. The city is alive. The city is constantly changing, which links with the fact that it is New York and it is a constant living city. It just makes the game feel so awesome and alive and really immersive, and you're in this world and you feel, you're gonna feel like Spider-Man swinging through the streets. So let's talk about that city. Okay, the city is the same map. It is the same map. It's the same locations. You can't do much with New York. And yes, you do get Queens and Brooklyn, but they're not that impressive, and they're nice to look at. This game looks amazing, but these areas aren't that different. They're both cities. They're just haven't got skyscrapers, so you're gonna have to use your wingsuit more. Oh yeah, you get a wingsuit, but that's not really a spoiler. You get it right at the beginning of the game. A common complaint about the wingsuit was the fact that people over relied on them. I never did that. I very rarely relied on it to get around, because I mixed it up a lot. In a lot of my swinging, I swung, glided, and then come out of it and swung again. The movement is so fluent, and I cannot wait for some of the montages we're going to get from these really, really talented people, because I haven't got the skill or patience to learn this system. But you don't need to. It's pretty easy. It's hold, let go, press a button, and off you go. They do really test your reflexes in the flying minigame, where you're going after a drone. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about some of the other stuff. So the suits, some of the best looking suits I've ever seen, and I have not unlocked all of them, which is really annoying, but I'm really excited to unlock a lot of them. A lot of them are locked behind side quests, so that will give me an excuse to go play these side quests for a bit. The minigames overall are fun. There's nothing new. They're very similar to what you got in the last one. I just miss the pigeon one. I kind of like the pigeon one. It gets replaced. Oh, the pigeon one doesn't. It gets replaced by the Metal Hawk one. It's the backpacks. You don't get any backpacks yet. You get the spider bots, and they're really entertaining to go. I think there were some really quite creative little spider bots. I wish you could use them in some way, actually change the color of your spider bot in the campaign. But I guess that doesn't matter when you got some really nice ones, like the J. Oh, go look for them and look out for the J. Jonah Jameson one. It is hilarious. I burst out laughing when I saw that one. Who else? What else can I talk about that's not going to ruin what's going on? The problem with the game coming out right now is I'm trying to steer around a lot of these things. Should you pick up the game? Is probably a very important one. Yes. And pick it up. Go play it. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time playing this, because I don't think we're going to get a year like this for gaming. Baldur's Gate, Armored Core, Spider-Man, Resident Evil. We're never going to get this again. I don't think we'll ever get this again, and that's a disappointment. But while we are here, we're enjoying it. I've also worked out that I'm not very good at the game. What should I talk about in this? Let's talk about... Okay, there is going to be a slight spoiler. Let's talk about the Venom side of the story. I'm going to be really careful about talking about it. I'm not going to say who pops up and all that stuff, but I am going to talk about it in a general circumstance. The symbiote storyline, which is the end part of the game, really did hit hard. There were some really nice moments in this that almost brought me to tears, with how wonderful it was to play through, and especially the stuff with Miles, because you do team up with Martin Lee, Small Destroyer, and there is an interaction between the two that really hit hard, and I kind of got choked up with it. It was such a lovely moment and a really nice degree of ending this saga of abuse. Not abuse, that's a terrible word. A saga of vengeance, that's a better word for it. Vengeance, and I cannot wait to see what they do next with these characters. Generally, Peter's story has ended. I think that is something that needs to be said. Peter's story has ended. There is nothing more they could do with Peter. Maybe they might do some of the Scarlet Spider stuff or the Superior Spider stuff, but I don't think they'll go into that route. I think Peter's story ended at the end of this game. Like a story arc, that's what I meant, story arc. No, he didn't die, don't worry. His story ended. I think the next games will be based on Miles, and he'll sort of take up the mantle, maybe. And hopefully he'll be the one. And I like Miles, I really like Miles. I've actually, before Miles Morales, I didn't know much about him. I only knew him from the cartoon, the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. That's like the only interaction I had with that character. But introducing him to me through these games, I've grown to really appreciate him. And again, yeah, it's talking about Miles. Oh, dude, there's so much to talk about this, but I don't want to ruin anything for you if you're going to play this game. So, the last thing I should talk, some of the last things I should talk about. Let's talk about the music overall. The music is some of the best I've ever heard. It's that dynamic music that if you start doing stuff, it builds up and it goes all blasting trumpets and stuff like that. That's awesome. Then we've got the sort of like techno music, really cool. The boss fight music, pretty awesome. I'd say go give it a listen, but probably after you've played the game. Sorry, I've got hiccups though. Last thing, the graphics. Graphic-wise, I played it on performance mode, but I don't think you need to play it on like the higher modes. Keep the frame rate at 60, because you kind of need it for this game. You kind of need 60 frames a second. But yeah, you can just play it what you like. If you've got a 4K TV, you can play it in 4K, but you don't need to. The game looks pretty anyway. Don't ruin your eyes. Keep your PlayStation at a decent temperature. Oh yeah, this is a PS5 exclusive game, so if you're all PS4 players, sorry, it's PS5 only. That's all I really have to talk about the video. This has been, this has had to be a very short video due to the fact of it being no spoilers, because I can't talk about spoilers at the moment, and I don't want to talk about spoilers. The Cyberpunk video is being made. I am recording as I am playing this time, so please wait out if this is something that you're interested in. But can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Ta-ra!